Hello everyone, today I'll be talking about chemical reactions. A chemical reaction, it is a process in which one or more substances, the reactants, are converted to one or more different substances, the products. Chemical reactions are either chemical elements or compounds. Chemical reaction rearranges the constitute of atoms to the reactants to create different substances as products. Here we see an example of a chemical reactions where two substances 2H2 plus 2O equals the product 2H2O. Here we see there is no problem for two reactants to become a single product. Uh, an example for chemical reactions in everyday life, for examples, combustion. It it happens for campfires and other such components that uses wood to burn for warmth. Rust also occurs if you leave metal for a long time or submerge it underwater. Digestion happens when people eat food and the stomach digests it by using acid. Photosynthesis, plants use it when it has sunlight to create its own food. Batteries has its chemical reactions when it's used for electronics such as a remote. Fermentation happens when people use fermentation to create unique foods. Washing and baking is also a chemical reaction. Signs or evidences of an occurring of a chemical reaction. The first is the odor. The smell of the substances may change after a such chemical reaction. Bubbles may start to form when a chemical reaction happen. Precipitation formation, which means a solid forms under the liquid during a chemical reaction, and the color may also can change during the chemical reaction. For example, for precipitation, when copper sulfate solution is mixed with sodium hydroxide solution, gives us the product solid copper hydroxide in colorless sodium sulfate solution. It is a precipitate solid that is actually formed after that reactants combined, which leaves us with solid under the glass. Here I prepared a video about an example for a chemical reactions that is called an elephant toothpaste.
Elephant toothpaste. The elephant toothpaste experiment is visually amazing, and it's one of the best experiments that's safe enough to do at home. To create the effect, you need some hydrogen peroxide liquid, dishwashing soap, food coloring, water, and some yeast. To start with, you add the hydrogen peroxide, soap, and coloring into a plastic bottle and mix it together, while combining warm water and yeast in a separate cup. When you're ready, the yeast mixture is added to the peroxide mixture, and the result is a huge amount of foam being produced that looks just like what you'd expect an elephant to use as toothpaste. But why does this happen? Well, the yeast in the mixture acts as a catalyst, and this quickly breaks the hydrogen peroxide down and separates the oxygen from it. This produces a huge amount of small bubbles which combine with the soap and are filled with more oxygen than normal, so it expands extremely quickly. If you do this experiment for yourself, you'll also notice that the bottle gets quite warm. This is because it's an exothermic reaction. The foam that's being produced only contains water, soap, and oxygen, so isn't dangerous in itself, but we still wouldn't recommend trying to use it to clean your own teeth. We're constant.
For a quick recap, elephant toothpaste occur when we mix two reactants that forms us a double product, which separates the oxygen, which makes it explode into the such called elephant toothpaste. It is very warm, so it's not recommended to touch it during the chemical reaction. Its color change whichever color you use on it from the first place. That's all for the project for chemical reaction. I hope you gained some knowledge from it and found it very informative.